Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining this podcast. For those who do not know me, my name is Arqam Cheema, your very own sales guy and the co-founder of Captains, which is an Amazon services-based agency. So today we have Chelsea Cohan with us, who is the co-founder of SoStock, which is an Amazon inventory-based agency. So thank you so much for joining us, Chelsea.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
So let's get into the game directly from the start. So Chelsea, who are you? What is SoStock? What was the motivation behind these two? And let's just start from the basics.
Sure. So I've been selling on Amazon since 2014. And in 2018, started looking at my profitability, felt that I wasn't where it should be, and looked back, saw inventory management problems, stock out, overstocking, holding costs based on overstocking, and started looking for a tool, to help me out. Obviously, that's kind of one of the first things that Amazon sellers do. Didn't find anything that was working the way that I wanted it to. Went to some people in my masterminds, asked the community, and everyone basically said, nothing works right. Spreadsheets are, the best solution we've found, which as an entrepreneur, that kind of opens up an opportunity to, to fill that void. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's how SoStock came about. Was met my business partner at an event. He knew the software side. I knew the Amazon side. I knew, inventory. I had connections to the community, and it really grew up out of, necessity for my own business, but also other people reaching out and saying, hey, I'm going on this journey. Why don't you come along as a seller, group of sellers working together to solve the inventory problem. So a lot of feedback coming directly from hundreds of sellers. I spoke to hundreds of sellers in the first year and a half personally to really get the software where it needed to be.
Perfect. So you have spent a lot of time and research on developing this tool actually. So let's start with a lot of people have actually suffered the Q4 due to the limited inventory spaces and Amazon taking their IPS score and a lot of stuff. So let's discuss what are the best practices we can utilize while using your tool or without using your tool to make our rest of the year profitable.
Sure. So I generally subscribe to something that I call inventory-minded marketing. And the thing that I learned early on is a tool is only as good as the education that you have behind it and the systems that you have behind it. So that's really what inventory-minded marketing is finding that a lot of the stock outs before restock limits came about, a lot of the stock outs were caused by overexcited marketers trying a marketing strategy and it becoming so successful that it stocks them out. So
but the main thing is if they are making money on it or not.
Yes, exactly. So so wanting to understand, okay, how do we get marketing and inventory to work together? There needs to be systems in place. So that really started with, obviously marketing should be telling inventory what they're doing. There should be a marketing plan that inventory vets the inventory against the marketing plan and can say, this is great, we're going to be fine. This SKU is going to run out of stock. You better not include it in your campaign. I'll let you know. We're going to come back in stock, and then you can start doing that. And then I can order more for you because I know that that's the plan.
Yeah. So the main thing is it's all about it's all it's the job or the responsibility of the marketing guy to tell that there's a sales trend in the February or March. So we have to make sure we are following that sales trend because we are going to have a decline or upline, and based on that you have to organize all your inventory.
Yes, exactly. So you have the marketing team taking responsibility for their role in inventory. And that was kind of the first step. That was my first concept of inventory-minded marketing. And then I realized that I was actually letting the inventory team off the hook. Inventory team is actually responsible as well, and they shouldn't be reactive. And that's generally what inventory is a reactive activity for most sellers, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
What about the second step? What's your second step towards it?
Sure. Yeah. So the second step would be simply what's the information that inventory team needs to send to the marketing team? And there's various different pieces of data that the marketing team should actually have and put into their marketing plan, so that
Okay.
it's kind of like this kind of feedback loop of, okay, this is what marketing's
All right.
going to do. And the first thing is, don't stock out. That's kind of our first the first rule of thumb in
Exactly.
Amazon business: don't stock out of inventory. So that it would be stock out risk report. There's two stock out reports that the inventory team should provide. One is
Okay.
kind of more immediate. Here's the products that could stock out if you don't make a change, right? If you have an 8-day
All right.
stock out being predicted, I can avoid an 8-day
Mm-hmm.
stock out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I turn off my coupon codes. Maybe I don't run an email campaign, or I lower my PPC ad spend on the more aggressive, less profitable ads, so I can make more money
Mm-hmm.
per unit and avoid that stock out. Because
All right.
stock outs affect IPI score, and then you have re-ranking,
Overall
you have
ranking.
things. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah.
But the main problem which I have seen, sorry for cutting you out, the main problem I have seen, like the agency owners or the medium size brand owner space, that they do not consider, like they are afraid of losing their sales. They are afraid of losing that per day brand business report data, like the revenue drop, but they are not like looking at the bigger picture. But like if they if they keep their sales consistent, it would actually turn them out of stock. So the money they have spent on ranking their product, it would go to waste. So I guess it's more about educating yourself as well. At the same time, educating the marketing side and the inventory side as well.
Yeah,
So you know you are
exactly.
making the right decision. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and making that decision and how to avoid a stock out. And I think there's a question here about how do you actually slow down your sales and not destroy your
Mm-hmm.
page ranking. And so that is a
Yeah.
tricky thing. Sometimes a stock out can't be avoided, and in that case,
Okay.
it can be that the method is, well, I want to just increase my page ranking and stock out. If I'm going to stock out for 2.5 weeks, that's not something I can necessarily avoid and maintain my page
Mm-hmm.
ranking. So I'm going to increase
Exactly.
my page ranking by ramping up sales, and generally you stock out and then you close your listing to lock in that page ranking. I
Exactly.
actually learned a trick from Vanessa Hung, who many people know about.
Mm-hmm.
Vanessa Hung, full-time
Yeah.
Amazon, and she said that she gave this great idea. When you have almost run out of stock, let's say you have 5 units left,
Mm-hmm.
instead of selling out and closing your listing, you can somehow strand your inventory. So let's say you switched, the SKU to FBM, or you increase your price very, very high,
Yeah.
and that often
Mm-hmm.
triggers a pricing error that suspends your listing.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you've got 5 units of stranded inventory. So that registers in your IPI score as stranded inventory, not doesn't affect
Out
your
of stock.
in-stock rate, which is more damaging to your IPI score.
Important.
So that's
Exactly.
something
That's
that I
smart.
think is like a little hack that I learned from Vanessa that I think is pretty
Mm-hmm.
smart, especially if you're like borderline for your IPI score. Some people are right on that edge, and that could be the difference
Mm-hmm.
between them going
Mm-hmm.
into going below threshold or not.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. That's a smart move. I'm going to utilize this one for sure.
Sure. Yeah,
So
exactly.
what
And
about
then
you? What now? Mm-hmm. Yes, please, please.
I was just going to say, and then just to finish out the slowing down the sales, if you are slowing down your sales because you do recognize that you have a short stock out, 5 days,
Okay.
8 days, you would take some of these actions to slow down the sales by backing off of some of your aggressive campaigning. But
Campaign.
you're always looking at the page ranking. And if you start to creep down the page ranking, you might have to, back off of that strategy. So that's always a factor. Is, you know, I don't want to sacrifice my page ranking to stay in stock unless I think that I can make up that ground pretty quickly.
And most of the times I have seen like people going aggressive on their PPC and everything, and then they run out of stock. I have like faced this problem, discussed this problem. A lot of people have discussed it with me that they spent XYZ amount, and then the client went out of stock, and it all went to waste. But the thing is, you have to discuss each and everything in the start first.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, you want to get to a point where you're not at risk of stocking out because you're looking far enough ahead, because the inventory team and the marketing team are in sync. That you're not seeing a lot of instances of stocking out, right? Because you've planned far enough in advance. So hopefully, at a certain point, your systems are in place so that when you run that stock out risk report to see if there's anything stocking out, you don't see anything. You know, that's the ultimate goal, is that you're good because you've planned ahead.
Everything perfect. So moving forward to the third step. So what do you do with the third step?
Sure. So the next thing to do would be to take, there's two different things. So the next thing would be looking at past stock outs. And so we have a report that you can run. And this is something that you could possibly get in, download on Amazon as well. If you can get your historical stock out data, it's very hard to get it. If you haven't paid attention to it, we can pull it from an API, but it's a little bit more difficult to get as a report. And that would look at how many days did you stock out? If you stocked out for a number of days, what is the percentage of the year that you stocked out? And if you see certain products or have a high percentage, start looking at the supplier and start looking at, maybe my lead times are shorter than they should be. What is that problem? Was it the supplier problem? Was it a shipping problem? Was it Amazon not checking things in on time? And once you isolate that problem, you can start to adjust your lead times, adjust your supply chain, so that those products and those suppliers aren't causing you issues in the future. So that would be kind of more of a proactive approach to the stock outside of things.
Perfect. So how stock can help us? Let's say if I'm a mid-level seller, how it can help me with my stock management and logistics and everything.
Sure. So these reports are able to be produced with stock, so you can see on a regular basis. And we recommend a monthly for a slower moving business, but more advanced business, intermediate business, more fast-paced business, weekly would be running these reports. Inventory runs the reports, sends them to the marketing team. Marketing team puts their marketing plans together at least 3 months in advance, 3 months, 6 months, whatever you have. And that goes into the inventory plans and then is regularly updated as things go along, so that I know if 2 months from now I'm going to do a sale for the summer, I have the inventory ready for that. So that's the planning stage. So Stocked is able to then plug all of that in. So you pull past data, but then also you can put your marketing plans into your inventory plans, and everything adjusts based on that, based on those 2 points.
Perfect. So let's say we just went through the Q4, and now most of the people are suffering from the low inventory storage limits. So what best practices they can follow to recover their limit in the next maybe couple of weeks?
Sure. So it does take a little bit of time, but the thing that Amazon cares about the most, because there's a lot of different metrics, there's a lot of different inventory metrics, and it's kind of hard to understand what to focus on. When you look at there's 4 points of the IPI score. When you look at all 4 points, stranded inventory, in-stock rate, excess inventory, when you look at all of these points, and then sell-through. Every single one of them touches sell-through. So sell-through is affected by stranded inventory. It's affected by excess inventory, in stock rate. Sell-through is the metric that you should be focused on. And that makes it very, very easy. If you know that the faster you turn over your inventory, the happier Amazon is, then you know that that's the thing to focus on. So that maybe sending in smaller orders more frequently. Amazon's fees are going up in April. Their storage fees are going up significantly. They've revised some of their storage fees. The aged inventory fee.
They're doubling it.
What's that?
I guess it's like they're trying to like double it up because the removal fees is also going double, and the things are getting crazy. The profits are shrinking.
Yeah, they're making it very uncomfortable for sellers to have overstock. So sell-through is a focus on not having overstock, not having too much inventory. So there needs to be strategies to keep your inventory moving. There is a big focus and has been on revenue, on marketing being responsible for revenue, which is their first goal. The second goal that they need to start taking responsibility for is sell-through. Because if they have too much slow-moving inventory taking up space, they're not going to be able to get their bestsellers in there. So they're shooting themselves in the foot. So they need to start taking responsibility for getting those slow sellers, getting the overstock moved out. And that is where reports come in. Inventory sends report. For example, I shouldn't have more than 90 days worth of inventory at Amazon. It's going to start costing me money. At 180 days, you're going to start getting an excess inventory fee, an aged inventory fee.
That's more.
Every single, it used to be at long-term storage fees at the 1 year mark. And then last year they changed it to, hey, we're now going to start charging you $1.50 every single month till the 1 year mark, starting at 270 days of having your stock in Amazon. This year in April 15th, they're moving it back to 180 days. So 180 days, they start charging you 50 cents, then 30 days later, $1, then $1.50, and then it jumps to $3.80, $4, $4.20, and then back into long-term storage, which is $6.90 per cubic foot. So
they're taking everything.
it stacks upon your monthly. So you have monthly, and then stacked upon that is an additional aged inventory fee. And then they have an additional fee that it's a little bit complex. I'm not going to get into it too much. It only affects, about 7% of Amazon sellers who probably aren't really profiting that well either anyway. So they really want us to move our inventory. Is a bottom line. And having a report that tells you that you're overstocked, a report that says, here's all the products that you have that have more than 90 days worth of inventory. Here are all the products that are selling less than 5 units a day. Here are all the products, and that's, we should get rid of those. Those are the liquidation products. Maybe I should remove them, liquidate them. And then you have slow sellers, which are kind of like your borderline products. Maybe for a business between 5 sales and 20 sales a day. You say that's not a bad product, but a good successful product is selling over 20 units a day in my business, for example. If it's below that, I need to fix that. I need to get the sales to drive so that it doesn't become a product that becomes liquidation, becomes a real problem. It's a red flag. This could be successful, and maybe the marketing team is not paying attention to all of these different issues until you send reports and you say, hey, here's some other issues that you have to deal with besides driving revenue. How are you going to move these products? The bonus is that you improve your IPI score, you improve your restock limits, and you also recover that cash that's tied up so that you can invest in things that are more profitable.
Okay, so I have a question here. So is it better to initiate a removal order for the ones that are not selling, or we should just sell them at a lower price? What should be the best way to do it? Removal or just sell it at some lower price?
So if you remove it, one, it's going to cost you money. you should know what you're going to do with it afterwards. Removal is the only times I suggest removal is if you really need that space and you don't have enough space and your best sellers are not able to be shipped in because of restock limits, would be a reason for removal. Or if you're about to get hit with a bunch of fees, that would be another reason for removal. Do the math and say, okay, if I don't move this in 2 months, I'm going to be paying, 2 times what the removal fee is. Remove it. But if you can drop that price and move it through sales, that contributes to sell-through. It improves your restock limits. It improves your IPI score, and you're able to make some sort of money back on it. So it's a better choice to try to sell through it unless you have, one of the emergencies of not enough space or you're about to get hit with fees.
So we have a couple of questions here. Let me just pull them through and we can answer them one by one. So what's the best practice to slow down our sales when we are getting out of stock, reducing PPC via low budget, or pausing campaigns which aren't for ranking purpose?
Sure. I mean, maybe this is something that you can take. We talked about, the methods for either whether you slow down or you speed up sales. But in terms of the PPC, you may have some better suggestion. I don't really focus on the marketing side of the business. But my suggestion is anything that's going to help in terms of improving profitability while you reduce your sales, but you may have additional feedback.
So that's what I prefer is focus on the profits during this time, because the strategy, which includes increasing your overall sales price, that also includes your profits. So the same things go for reducing PPC via low budget or pausing the campaigns. It's better to reduce your budget, and first you have to evaluate whether you can afford to run those low budget campaigns or not, whether your inventory would go out of stock or not. If you think it won't go out of stock, it would just lower down your sales by 50%, then go with the lowering your budget. Instead, just either pause or utilize the strategy, or the standard weight strategy, or the pricing strategy, which Chelsea has discussed before. You can go with that one as well.
Sure, so, and shutting off your coupon. You have coupon codes, for example.
Exactly. Does pressing the listing have any impact on re-ranking or when we restock?
I mean, it shouldn't. It should be similar to closing the listing. You should be able to lock that ranking in place. If you don't close the listing or suppress the listing, you're going to have problems with the ranking, with re-ranking. It doesn't really. It triggers the algorithm in a different way. So suppressing or closing the listing is not going to be nearly as difficult to re-rank as if you don't do anything. You just stock out and you leave the listing active or inactive. It's an inactive status rather than closed status or suppressed.
So I have to share like a strategy here, which I utilized to suppress one of my listings. I did was the main image, I cropped it out. Some of the borders didn't left white space, and Amazon suppressed it immediately after like 10-15 minutes. This is the one of the easiest suppression you can get rid of. Let's say if you are running out of stock, you can just utilize this main image strategy. Once you need it back, just fix the main image, upload it in the 10 minutes, you would have your listing back. So if you first have utilized.
So you had too much white space, is what you're saying, where the image was too small?
I removed the white space. Let's say the product is here, the frame is here. I removed the top frame, and Amazon thought like it is not complying with their services, so they suppress the listing. You just re-upload the right. Yeah.
Okay.
So before utilizing any suppression strategy, first evaluate how long the retrieval would take. You do not want to get into those sort of suppressions where it would take like a day. Go for those which take like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes max.
Smart. Yeah, that's good.
What should be our strategy to rank when restock our inventory? I guess it's not relevant to the topic, as Chelsea is not like a marketing person. Moving forward to, in my opinion, 3 things are very important for inventory management that most others do not consider: managing the lead time, having more than one supplier, having safety stock. Is there anything else which you want to add?
Yeah, so that's a good point. So lead time and safety stock are two of the most important elements. Having more than one supplier is having that backup, having that flexibility within your supply chain to pivot when something goes wrong. But to the point of lead time and safety stock, also known as buffer stock, when you take those two numbers and you add them together, that equals what is called the reorder point. So if you know that it takes you 60 days lead time and you want 30 days worth of safety stock is just, I want to make sure that at all times I have, let's say 30 days of stock at Amazon. I'm never going to get below 30 days. I'm going to pretend like that's zero. And I'm going to reorder so that inventory arrives at that 30-day mark. So you have your lead time and you have your safety stock. Let's say 60 days plus 30 days, that's 90 days. 90 days is your reorder point. So you know that when I hit 90 days of stock, I better be placing my order so that it arrives by that time where I'm hitting my safety stock.
Also, do keep in mind, like inventory is more crucial, because when you are like lower, you have lower inventory limits or lower inventory in units in your stock, Amazon ultimately reduces your organic ranks, because Amazon prefer those who have like lot of inventory in their stock, and they prefer those who can like sell well. So do keep in mind, there are multiple factors involved, there are multiple benefits involved, and it's one of the biggest factors that can help you increasing your revenue and profits. So moving forward,
exactly. Yeah, that's right. We refer to it as geo ranking. You could be selling well in California, but you have no stock in the middle of the country. So all of a sudden your ranking is affected in that specific area. And you don't really know why your sales are suffering, but it's because you have 15 days of stock and you don't have enough to send 2-day shipping, which is Amazon's goal is 2-day shipping. And if I can't do 2-day shipping, I want them to buy your competitors who has more stock.
Exactly. So when launching a seasonal product, how do we handle inventory aging and obsolescence?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. So, I mean, you would definitely want to have some sort of a 3PL backup if you're going to hold that inventory long term. It's important because you can overshoot, and then like he says, obsolescence. If next year you can't sell it, so you want to. It's a tough thing to get that right, and it's nobody has a crystal ball, but being able to look at seasonal trends. We have a system to look at what were you selling last year? What was you want the seasonal pattern, but you also want the trend. So if I know my seasonal pattern goes like this, but my trend is 5% higher or maybe 5% lower than last year, I want to take that pattern and apply the trend to adjust it up or down based on that trend. So if you have a product you sold well last year, but you're seeing that the trend is decreasing by 10%, then next year you should probably adjust your seasonal order by that factor.
Perfect. So the other question is how do we optimize our inventory management for cost and efficiency while maintaining optimum levels?
Sure. So that is something that is not often tracked. The part that's not tracked, stocking out, we know there's costs involved in stocking out. What I call the silent killer is overstock, is paying for storage fees over and over. We know that we usually keep about 90 days worth of inventory. And I actually did a calculation to figure out at what multiple am I paying for storage fees. So if I have 1 month worth of inventory, I'm paying 1 month worth of storage fees. But if I have 2 months worth of inventory, I'm paying 1.5 times. And then at 3 months, it's 2 times. So I'm paying the storage fee twice because for the entire, every single unit, because I'm paying 3 times for the first portion, 2 times for the second portion, and then 1 time for the third portion. And so, it's a lot of crazy math that I, bent my head to figure out, but you're paying so many times on a monthly basis for storage. So you need to make sure that you're maintaining, I would say between 75 and 90 would be the maximum, depending on your supply chain and on how much you trust Amazon to check your inventory in. And then the other thing is that people don't look at is shipping optimization, making sure that you have your cartons and your pallets are optimized. We actually created a free tool at sostocks.com/tools. It's the carton pallet optimizer, and it looks at your product, your unit size, and what pallet you're using, and tells you how to put as many units per carton and as many units per pallet as possible so that you're using as much space. You have some people who are only using 70% of the space on the pallet. So they're paying, so they have 30% more pallets than they should have, simply because they're not using it that space. And so that can be a huge difference.
Perfect. That's a really good insight. So moving forward to the other question, how to solve pending inventory problem. There are many bad persons in the market who are pending our inventory by using different buyer accounts. Pending inventory occurs when someone tries to purchase our product but doesn't complete payment. I haven't heard this one.
Yeah. So solving pending inventory, so incomplete sales, pending our inventory on different buyer accounts. So is this possibly like a sort of a gray hat or a black hat attack from competitors trying to tie up your inventory and make it unavailable for sale? Maybe I haven't heard. I haven't heard this happening very much, but that's what I assume is what's going on.
But I guess we can easily tackle it by adding a inventory limit to it.
Yes, exactly. That's what I was going to say is if you've got someone who's pretending to buy 100 units, well, then lessen that to 5 units or whatever it is. And they would have to open up more. If they really wanted to, they would have to open up a lot more buyer accounts to be able to attack you. And maybe they would be dissuaded from that.
Yeah, if you really piss them off, they cannot do it. So just keep things clear.
Right.
So in case of big brands which are selling on other platforms apart from Amazon, how do we handle inventory in such a multi-channel distribution system? So coming related to this question, is SoStock offering like multi-channel distribution, multi-channel inventory management as well?
Right. So we're on all Amazon channels. We will be getting into Shopify and other channels, but currently we are not. We do, however, if you're fulfilling Shopify sales through Amazon or any sales through Amazon, we can track that. So, and then in terms of how do you handle tracking those things, you would have to track the sales velocity for each one of those. And then where are you storing that inventory? Do you have, another fulfillment center that you are fulfilling out of? And then you would have to track the sales velocity for basically for each location. I know how much I'm selling through this warehouse, through FBA. So I'm sending this much to FBA. Let's say Walmart and Shopify are fulfilled by another warehouse. Let me add those two sales together, the sales velocity together, and send that amount. Let's say you want 90 days worth of stock at that warehouse, 90 day, the sales velocity for Walmart plus the sales velocity for Shopify, and then times the 90 days worth of inventory.
Perfect. So these are all the relevant questions that we got for this podcast. If you have anything else to share, do share with the community.
I would just say for this year, and this is something that we're going to be releasing. Our parent company, Carbon 6, been working with Carbon 6 on a white paper for Amazon fees, fulfillment fees, removal, the impact of dimensional weight and storage fees, and really explaining all of that, how it impacts us. And then we'll be talking a lot about how to adjust your business so that you can improve profit, because that's going to be a real problem. Is profit is going to be tighter than ever. And with these fees coming out, we need to increase profit as much as possible to offset that, so that we keep more of the money than we make.
So what's the estimated time of this white paper? Because it's like it
Yeah.
seems like it's going to save us a lot of money. What's the estimated
Yeah.
time of it?
So our goal is to put it out by the 16th.
16th of
Yeah. So
January?
the 16th of this month. Yeah, because the 17th is when those fees drop. And we'll be having a webinar,
Okay.
I believe on the 18th, to Vanessa and I to talk about the white paper and about the fees. And then so
Okay.
if you follow SoStocked, or if you follow Carbon 6, or you follow myself, you can go to sostock.com/connect to follow
Okay.
me and to follow SoStocked, and then we'll be announcing it there.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you so much for sharing all of this knowledge with us, Chelsea. Hopefully, in the future, we will schedule another podcast and learn more from you. And that's it. Thank you so much for joining us. Bye bye.
Awesome. Thanks.